Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. And they're here today to talk about all kinds of cool stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Randy Barr. Take it away, Randy.
Hi, folks. Man, we got some good stuff coming up for you. I'm going to preview a little. Dr. McGill will be here shortly, and he's going to talk about a veterans opportunity and some really neat stuff, patriotism, and we're going to have him on 2 weeks. He's got so much good stuff. And Greg Thompson, who's kind of my buddy, and I'm going to try to talk him to get up here once in a while and co-host. He's going to co-host. I'm going to swing it to him, and then I'll jump in. But he knows a lot about what this is today, and he'll be here in a minute. He thought it was at 10, and it's at 9, but we called him. One thing I want to get ready for next week, we've got a 2-minute and 20 music video, and it is called "We're Gonna Make America Great Again." It's got Trump in the background, but a lot of patriotic shots and everything with the song. And I know I'm not looking at it like, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. You know, all I'm saying is we should pray for our president. We should pray for anybody in lead. I did. I wasn't in love with everybody the last president, but I prayed for him, and I said, you know, ask God to help and all that, and that's where I'm coming from. But it's a beautiful song, and you know, if you like him or not, look at his record. He has done quite a bit, and he's really trying to help this country get back. I think anyway. So I don't want anybody to get mad, but that's what we're doing. On this show, I want to do that just for everybody, really. No matter who would be in there. That will be starting next week. I think you'll like the song. I think you'll like the patriotic footage, and we're going to probably play it every week right up to the election. And we've also got guests that are presidential and have a lot to say all the way up to the election. Gregory, he knows a lot of people, and I talked to him, and we talked about it. I want to do something to help with the election, however you're going to vote or whatever. I will be slanting a little bit toward Trump because I think he's got some policy that's okay. But we're going to have stuff up to the election. So if you want to see some stuff, you want to maybe hear some things you never heard before, because the main news really does give him a bad break. They don't say anything that he's done that's okay, you know, just the bad. And we should balance it, I would think, you know. But so that's coming up. Now, as long as he's not here yet, I don't usually do this because I don't care about trophies and things like that. I care about Jesus. But, you know, we're trying to get people on here to watch. We started this back in 1995 when we were 5 years in Wisconsin. And when I first started, the station director wasn't so nice. I was no good. I didn't want to do it, but I just felt I was supposed to start, and the station director wanted to do something. But the people started to take off with it. They liked my goofiness or whatever. I wasn't like other announcers. We ended up winning it's like the Academy Awards of Wisconsin Pig Channels here. And 2 years in a row, we won 3 or 4 different categories in the religious category with our talk show. It's the same as it is now. So I'm going to do my best to get back up to this level. Now, I have a little way to go, but we're going to try to do it and give you guys some neat stuff to listen to and watch from now on. But we did, at one time, we were up to this level, and we're going to go back there. Not too long from now, I hope. Gregory, you're going to host this thing today. And I'm kind of glad because I didn't get enough research. I didn't feel comfortable enough with what this man is doing. All I know is I went nuts when I read that brochure thing you gave me. I loved it. I love the idea of it. And I'll pop in once in a while, but I'm going to let you, when he gets here, kind of go through it. Well, we could get started a little bit.
Okay, that's fine, Randy.
Yeah.
And God bless you. And first, I want to tell all of our listeners that Dr. McGill is a warrior for God, family, and country, and he
Yes.
puts God first in everything he does, and knows the importance of men standing up and being men again. I'm going to go through just a couple of things and prep before he gets here. Here, this is something he puts out. We veterans of the United States of America, recognizing no time limit on and reaffirming our oath. I, and I'm going to put my name in there, Gregory, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith, and allegiance to the same. So help me God. A lot of veterans should be very aware of that oath that they took when they went in, and we've fought against many enemies foreign, but never in my life have I seen so many enemies to our country
Yeah.
domestically, and we need all Christians and men of goodwill and especially our veterans, because after God we owe a great deal to our veterans for keeping our country safe, and they can still be active. This is a very active what he's put together in the Veterans in Defense of Liberty.
Yes, and folks, yes, we're talking about a veteran main thing, and you'll find out shortly why it's that way. But if you want to help financially, if you want to volunteer for anything, it's a wonderful thing. Which you'll know in a minute. We're not just talking to veterans, but if you're a veteran out there, I hope you listen up, because I'm telling you, and I know you know this, everywhere I go and talk to veterans, not all veterans, there's some, that aren't gung-ho, but most veterans, they love their country. They love the flag. They wish they could do something. They're very frustrated. So a lot of them will get on motorcycles and do things or whatever, and that's great. This is a chance for really to make a difference, because before we get into it, what they're going to do is train veterans that have that attitude, okay? And then they're going to train them to debate. They're going to train them to speak. They're going to take them to Washington, D.C., and eventually the whole nation, they're going to have people running for Congress. They're going to have people debating with liberals, and they're going to be a tool to help us. And I got so excited when I looked over it, not because we're so much greater or anything, veterans, but we can't help it. I don't think most of us went to basic because we wanted to join, we wanted our country, and from then on you get love for the flag and you respect for the flag, and you get Constitution. You swear that you'll carry out that Constitution as long as you live, not only the time you're in service, as long as you live. And so we're taking that premise, see, that premise of that kind of an attitude, and they know how to follow orders, okay? And they know when it's tough, gets going, they get going, Marines stuff, wow, and SEALs. So that's what makes this so good. And I hope if you're not a veteran, you're for it, you pray. You can call and volunteer in some ways, I'm sure. It's just that they are going to try to, I think there's 20,000 veterans, basically in the United States. And, probably, I don't know, 18,000 of them or something are gung-ho for this. Some of them won't, but I think we'll get a lot.
Well, I think the majority of them will. All of them, if you talk to them, they're men of goodwill. Even if they aren't fully Christian yet, hopefully,
yes,
hopefully many of them are.
Right.
But this goes all the way back to our founders. The premise behind
yes.
this, George Washington, some of you might know, although it's not taught much in school anymore, our first president, he said, the propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right, which heaven itself has ordained. So it's no game. We have so many that are trying to make up their own rules, and I will call out the liberals for doing that. And we need men that are willing to stand up against the evil that is happening to our children and grandchildren. That's what we're facing.
Yes.
Our children and grandchildren are going to be at risk for eternity.
Oh,
It's not just right now. They're going to be at risk now and for eternity. If for the first time in the history of our country and in my life, I've never seen the evil come out as heavy as it has. You know, there's something like 570 riots that have happened in over 200 cities in this country, and many people killed and raped and maimed, etc. I mean, there's so much evil going on.
and you know, Greg, I can't believe that the bulk of the United States is behind these riots and stuff, thinking it's okay because black lives got hurt or whatever. Hey, Black Lives Matter, all life. But what makes anybody the right to kill and throw things and break in? You know, I don't think most of the country's like that.
No,
But the main media just won't jump on this.
well, I'm gonna take it because there needs to be a separation in people's minds to know that the organization Black Lives Matter is a Marxist communist organization, and the ones that started it even openly state that they're trained Marxists. It's not about black lives to them. It's about getting their way and whatever it takes, intimidate. All lives matter. And that's why, you know, it's not about Black Lives Matter in the sense of a Marxist communist organization, that all lives matter. And within that,
Well, I've heard several black folks come out and say, this is not right. You know, they know. And it's not like you said, it's nothing to do with black. It's just, and when they come out and say, I'm Marxist and all that, that blows my mind. They're not even trying to hide it, you know?
yeah, no,
Gee.
if you watch what the liberals have done, especially over the last 4 years, they openly are telling you who they are. You know, and maybe the most beautiful thing is that they've exposed themselves
Yeah.
for who they are in today's climate. You know,
And I think there's more coming, some indictments and things, I hope. I go to a conservative site and I hear stuff that you never hear on the other news, you know, and I hope that some of that's true and there's some stuff coming down the pike. But, you know, there's this, what is that? Good people, the most dangerous thing is when good people don't do anything, right?
Edmund Burke out
Yeah.
of England.
Christians, for goodness sake, good people. I'm guilty. When I was younger and everything, I didn't care. All politicians are bad or whatever. Shame on me. We got to get engaged. If we're going to do anything, we'll get school boards that have brains on their heads. They get change the curriculum maybe. That's the route we have to go. And then people say, well, the end of the world's coming. Don't matter. I'm sorry. Jesus didn't say anything like you should do that. He said, just keep going forward and do your right. You know, we don't know for sure what's coming.
That's right. You know, it's this organization is you know, they talk about it being patriotism is a purpose, and with some muscle behind it, and the veterans are the muscle behind the purpose.
Yeah.
You know? Now that doesn't mean, so for all of our listeners to let you know that you can be an associate member. A veteran can sponsor you in, so you can join also, and because everybody should be a part of this.
Yes.
Every Christian and person of goodwill should be a part of it. It's only, like I said, it's only $35 a year.
Yeah.
And join with your family. You know, let your family join if you have family members or friends that you could sponsor into it, because it's a purpose. It's something to do. So many people have many times said, "What can I do?" You know.
Yeah.
Well, the good Lord. I think Isaiah said it well when the good Lord said, "Who shall I send?"
Yeah.
And he said it. You know, send me, Lord. You
Send
know.
me.
And so we should all be with that type of thought process. If you love your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, anyone that you love, and you want a country to stay like it was rooted. You know, one of the things that was done by a Supreme Court justice in the Everson case in 1947, Judge Hugo Black, said there's a separation of church and state. Now, he never used any prior precedent all the way back to the beginning of the country. He just said there's a separation of church and state. And as a result, they took prayer out of school, they took the Bible out of school, they took the Ten Commandments out of school, they took all these things out because they wanted to change. They wanted to change the who was in control. You can't be in control if God and family are there. You got to get rid of God. You got to take control the family, divide the family, and then you have control. Because always, God's laws are above man's laws. And as it was there, as God's laws were there, we set a foundation in God's laws in this country. So it wasn't, that type of separation was never intended. You know, we were formed as a Christian nation. You know, even one of our early presidents said, we didn't do this for the Mohammedans. I'm just telling you, they made that statement openly.
Aren't most of the laws intersect with the Ten Commandments?
Amen. Yes.
And like that's the way it is. And I think most of you don't like to get, killed or talked over or whatever. So we need to get back to this. I mean, it's going crazy. And look at history. Look at history. That never has Marxist or socialism, never, not once has it flourished. It's nothing but bad. And that's what we want to do? No, it's what some rich, powerful people want so they can be in control. We don't even know who they are, I'm sure. But we are the people, and we can fight back. And we need to. And if you're not a veteran, I hope you support it. I'm a veteran. I am going to support it. I'm not going to go to Washington or anything. I'm 67 years old, and I'm really not that sharp. But you can certainly be a part of this no matter who you are. And we got the main guest here.
All right, we're not going to take any time at all. We're going to get right into the, what we did was put a foundation for you this morning. But we want to go right in as soon as Dr. McGill is ready.
And I apologize, sir. I probably didn't make it clear, or I said wrong, so I apologize.
All right. I thought 10 o'clock, and which is really 9 o'clock in Colorado, so I'm in Colorado time.
I
might have said wrong. I don't know. We're here. We're going.
One of the statements that I just made, Doc, is it is said that patriotism is a purpose with some muscle and behind it, and veterans are the muscle behind the purpose. That's one of your statements. Right?
I've heard that. Yes.
God love you, brother, and I want you to take a moment initially to just why did you give up everything? It reminds me of what the founding fathers said. We pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor, that liberty and those passionate principles which the Americas shall not perish from the earth. And that has to be in the hearts of all true Americans.
It does.
And I know that you gave up your livelihood, for one thing, to go full time, seeing that our country was in danger, and especially in today, more danger than I've seen in my lifetime. So would you tell us a little bit about why you gave up everything, why you started this, and tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I'd be glad to. I had been, I was in the Marine Corps from 65 to 71, and then the Army Medical Corps from 81 to 88, and started a private practice delivering some 9,000 children, souls into this world, if you would. And I had become aware, for a long time I would vote, and that's about as involved as I was politically. And there were several occurrences that shook me and awakened me to the importance of honoring our oath to serve and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I initially started out as trying to deal on a party level to correct some injustices and inappropriate activity that I saw. And one time I was on a website called Together We Serve, which at that time was just Marines, prior service Marines on it. They had about 250. And I had put something out there about John Murtha. And some Marine fired back at me, and he said, John Murtha's only one of 2 ex-Marines I'm aware of, referring to Lee Harvey Oswald as the second one. Excuse me. And he said, but if this country is going to be saved, Marines will save it. Not the Marine Corps, Marines. And that burned into my psyche, if you would, so severely that I could not shake it. And I came to the realization, if this country's going to be served, veterans can save it. We're the sworn defenders of our nation. And that burned and dwelt on me until ultimately in 2010 I had no choice but to say, make that leap of faith, and I think it was divine providence involved in doing that, and took that leap and formed Veterans in Defense of Liberty, which is ran up the stairs, ran up the elevator anyway, excuse me. And but Veterans in Defense of Liberty is a 501c4 advocacy group, not a charity, of veterans dedicated to restoring and maintaining the integrity of the Republic based upon the correct moral constitutional values. It takes 30 seconds to take the oath that we took. It's a lifetime to carry it. And so we're divided into 8 divisions. Each division is divided into the regimental level, or the states, individual states across the country. And each state is divided into the battalion level, which essentially parallels the congressional district levels in the states, which gives us the advantage to have 435 individual divisions. And Gregory, I loved and I still love what the Tea Party did and has done, but I think they were somewhat of a flash in the pan simply because they did not understand chain of command. And so everybody started going off in their own separate direction, and it began to fall apart at that point. Veterans understand chain of command, so each of these individual battalions can work at their congressional district level, they can work at their state level, and all the states can come together and work at the national level as one voice and one body, if you would. And by doing that, if veterans all stand together, there's nobody that can stand against us.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. With God as our sovereign, that is exactly what will happen.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I noticed one element of the action that you have, and I just saw recently where President Trump must have been listening, because you have a part that says we commit to educate ourselves, and this goes all the way down into the schools.
Absolutely.
Because our schools, just to let you know, I'm a former superintendent of schools, and I've seen the communist infiltration in all the different entities in this country, and one of them being our schools. And so our children have been taught ugly things about
Absolutely.
our country, But the Veterans in Defense of Liberty, they're intentionally seeing that the children are being intentionally uneducated about our to bring the truth of our founding fathers, because if they knew what warriors, there's nobody that is liberal today, and even some of the conservatives could not carry the shoes of our founding fathers.
No, absolutely.
They were warriors, and you have a free country because of what they were willing to do. And like we said earlier, they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to make that happen. And that's no accident.
Gary,
to protect our Constitution. And
I'll throw in something that people maybe don't know. This goes way back to when I was in school. They didn't teach us anything about the wars or anything. Our own country, and how we progressed and what people did for us. What I student taught for a while, years ago, 10 when I was here, and you babysit mostly, at least that's what I did. I'd come in, the teacher would have, something, and your kids would read. Of course, they'd act up, they don't want to do that. I started telling them about the Vietnam War and different wars and the things that happened and personal, they were just like this, you know. The kids were just like this. And they said, why don't they teach us this? I said, they should. And I'll never forget that. It's not that the kids will take it, but we got to give it, you know, they weren't doing anything, nothing in the schools as far as our own America.
Yes, yes. You know, I have family that have been in every branch: Air Force, Marines, Army, Navy. You know, they've been in all branches. Some I have a grandson getting ready. They're getting ready to send him to Korea. You know, and you know, I take this very seriously. What Doc is doing with this Veterans in Defense of Liberty, because it is so needed in this country. Of all the entities out there right now, you know, even and I'm going to say this in a loving way, but even our churches have been infiltrated and are not doing what they should be doing. So hopefully, when you have men start standing up and being men again, that even the churches will wake up and start saying, you know, all my children, grandchildren, family, and friends, they will be joining Veterans in Defense of Liberty, and even the ones that are not there, Doc will be an associate member. Like I was fortunate that Doc,
You have been forever.
that Doc has sponsored me, and so we can bring our, and it just blew me away that something of this vital importance and at this state national level, a person can be a part for only $35 a year.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my
Hey,
golly, that's remarkable.
Folks, you know how this works. Most ministries, they want so much a month. They're always that. Yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy with that. But the thing is, if we get enough people that are for this, not, you know, they don't have to be a veteran. You're just for this. You want all this to happen. It's about $250 a month, I think, for $35 or $3 or something. It's not much.
Almost three.
For $35 a year, and that's what they're asking. And like, I'm getting kind of excited. I said, well, maybe I can get a bank thing and give $5 a month. That'd be $60, but no. But anyway, if that's all that they're asking for, they're not asking for a monthly go on and go on. But you know what? If we get behind this thing and pray and you see, they got to train the veterans. They're going to send them to Washington in what they call a boot camp and put them through all this stuff. When they get done, they're going to know how to debate. They're going to know how to speak. Some of them will probably be running for Congress and everything. That's exactly what we need. People that will have loyalty and love the country and go that way.
And I want to mention there, Randy, is that not everybody has to do that. There'll be people at different levels all the way through.
Right.
If they feel led to, they're going to help you make it happen in Washington, D.C. But guys, there's so many things that need to be done in this organization, and they need people at every level of things. So there will be a purpose and a thing for you to do and be a part of if you join this. You
Yeah.
don't have to go to Washington, D.C.
No, it's just
Okay.
part of it. Now, Doc, will you, people that aren't veterans, do you need them for to volunteer for anything? Or
Well, absolutely. We have our veterans membership, and when we launched this, well, you may know, I had a dear friend that got very engaged with us, Bill Groniger, and Bill had been a Blackbird pilot. But I was talking to him one day in the formative days of Veterans in Defense of Liberty, and I said, I think we need to have an auxiliary unit. And Bill said to me, absolutely not. We need to have an associate membership because freedom is a family affair.
Amen.
And so we do have an associate membership available, particularly to spouses of veterans, but also those who have very close veteran friends or very close veteran ties, and as long as they have a veteran sponsor, we have that associate membership, which has all the rights and privileges thereunto pertaining except the vote. If we vote on something, they don't have the vote. But of course, if it's a spouse, they actually carry that vote and just pass it to their veteran spouse, I believe, probably.
Amen.
But it is freedom is a family affair,
Amen.
and we all need to be engaged in it.
Folks, can I just for a second? At the end of the show, we're going to put up on the title bar the name of the organization, the email, the phone number, and everything. So between now and the end of the show, we got about 20 minutes. If you get a pencil or a pen, if you forget, you can call us, Axe Media Group, or axemediagroup.com, and we'll get it to you. But if you get a pen, you can write it down yourself. And you want to know more, you don't have to. You can just call and ask about it or anything. But I hope you're getting a little fired up like I am, because it's what a great thing. Yeah, I'm so frustrated. This makes me feel better because I think it will work. And if you're a veteran out there and you're not fired up, I don't know, But anyway, I hope you are.
I'm gonna make this statement that's part of one of your comments also, Don. We are a brotherhood and sisterhood of veterans fully committed to maintaining the integrity of our republic based on correct moral and constitutional principles, then to use these principles as a criterion of accountability for elected officials, promoting conservatism in the tradition of the Founding Fathers, diligently working toward the preservation of our republic, to identify and oppose those individuals, groups, and agendas that would knowingly or otherwise bring about the loss of our freedoms and the destruction of our republic through the violation of the Constitution and the erosion of the traditional founding values and morals. We will storm any hill where liberty is challenged. What a beautiful statement, Doc.
Thank you.
Can you expand on why it's necessary today more than ever in our country?
Well, Gregory, the United States came into existence unlike any other nation in the world, through the ratification of a document drafted by we the people. And I love Benjamin Franklin. Franklin said at one time, he said, the Constitution is near perfect as to be outstanding. Near perfect, but not perfect. So we spent the next 200 years trying to establish through trial and error and amendments a more perfect union. And during that period of time, America became the freest, most prosperous, the greatest force for good of any nation in history. And we're losing our Constitution, we're losing our republic. What the American veterans swore to maintain. And you mentioned our founding fathers that pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And while they did that, they actually declared treason, because that was a very treasonous thing to say against the crown. And between 1775 and today, some 2 million military, America's sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters, have given the last full measure of devotion and laid down their life, not to mention the wounded and the amputees that have paid for our freedom. Mm. But they didn't pay for our freedom. They paid so that freedom and liberty would go on to the very end of time. Amen. Today, we are only the stewards of it. Mm. And we, Veterans in Defense of Liberty, absolutely refuses to allow that sacrifice to have been made in vain.
Amen.
Mm. Praise the Lord.
We're watching things develop daily as in our country. What do you have to say about President Trump putting a constitutional Supreme Court justice in place? Against all the evil that's out there.
Yeah. Well, I'm very unopinionated, and excuse me, but he absolutely has to. We have to realize, we have to recognize I think for the last 50 years, we have been engaged in a very real civil war
Amen.
being fought on the invisible battlefield of ideas, if you would. But the left has declared themselves basically to be the enemy of the United States. They have converted this in Seattle and Portland and New York into a real revolution on their part. And the left has now said many times since the Justice Ginsburg's death that if he did that, there would be a civil war. That's an incredible thing to say. But they, and if they were to win, they would put 5 or 6 more people on the Supreme Court, and that would convert and would convert this this glorious republic into nothing but a totalitarian, tyrannical state. So, but President Trump is obligated under his oath to put a constitutional justice on that Supreme Court, and I think he recognizes that. Excuse me, before he was elected, after the primary, I was invited to it was supposed to be a small gathering. It turned out to be rather large, but it was called a conversation on the future of America with Donald Trump and Ben Carson. And before I attended that, people would come up to me and say, "What do you think of Donald Trump?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he is. I don't know what he'll become." I said, "I do know what Hillary Clinton is." You know? But at that meeting, President Trump was on stage for about an hour and a half fielding questions. And somebody asked him, "What are your feelings? How are you going to secure religious liberty?" And he said, kind of off the cuff, "Well, how about the Supreme Court?" But then he pointed to the individual that asked the question, and he said, "Never forget that our country's foundation are Judeo-Christian values. And if we cannot return those values to America, we will never make America great again." And I thought, he gets it, you know, and that's what he's doing right now. He understands those values. He understands somebody on that Supreme Court has to be constitutionally correct. And the left doesn't care about that. They just care about winning. Very Hitlerian in their approach. And so they will come unglued, but I think that we will. I understand now that McConnell has the votes to confirm a very conservative justice.
You know, I don't believe this civil war at all. In the real civil war, you have the South against the North. There's a lot of numbers. I think the rhetoric and all this, the liberal, what percentage of people are really going to want to do that? I don't think the people really want to do that, but they just build it up, you know. And I hope that's the way it is, but I can't imagine it myself. I just don't think most of the people want that, no matter if they're Democrat or Republican or what they are. They want our country to be. And
well, the difference, I think, between the Civil War in the 1860s and this one is pretty monumental.
Yes.
The 1860s, both sides had their differences. Now, I think it's important to realize that the slave owners and the plantation owner states, 11 of them that still own slaves, were primarily all Democrat. But they had their differences, the North and the South. But they had essentially the same love for this country, and they had the same value system. And that's not the case today.
Yeah.
The left does not have a love for this country, and I'm not sure what values they hold dear.
I just real quick, this is a Christian TV talk show. I heard, I think it was David Barton speak, I'm not sure, but George Washington, apparently they have proof of it, made a covenant with God that this nation's going to be a Christian nation, and of course he died and everything, but that's what he said. And it's the only nation, correct me if I'm wrong, in the world that made a covenant with God besides Israel. Is this true? Do you know anybody?
Well, I think we've been a light on the hill because of that belief.
Absolutely.
You know, and President Washington also you know, if we don't listen to a psychologist in 1950, but go right back to him and his comments and the people that were around him, you know, he said, of all the dispositions which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these pillars of human happiness. You know, it was that important. Your first Supreme Court justice was it John Jay?
I believe.
And he said you would do well to make sure you have Christians as your leaders. You know, he's sitting on the Supreme Court saying you need to have Christians as your leaders if you're gonna have peace and what you were talking about. It's the only thing. Our Judeo-Christian values is what allowed us to be the most beautiful, longest-lasting, great nation in this world, you know, because of that. And if we lose that, and the founders even talked about it, you lose that, you're done.
Yeah.
You're cooked.
Yeah, that's
Plain
right.
and simple.
You know, here's another comment of yours, Doc. We will fight to secure for ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty, endowed by our Creator and protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. You know, and of all the things, when the Creator and the Constitution, you know, you don't need to look any further than those two things. To have the Creator and the Constitution as your foundation, and any person of goodwill. And I'm going to make one statement before I give it back over to Doc. I have a warrior pastor that made the statement, and I believe this can be said of all Christians and people of goodwill. But he said no Catholic can vote for Democrats. Period. He emphasized it with period. You know, and that's gone around the world, because that's a foundation that, guys, if you love your country, if you love your children, if you love your family, you better wake up and get a handle on this and pay attention, stand up, act up, speak up before it's too late.
It may have been the same pastor that said, I heard the other day, you cannot be a good Catholic by voting for a bad Catholic. You know? But I think it's interesting. You know, one thing that hit me quite a while ago, God had a covenant with man.
Amen.
And when that covenant was broken, he smited them, if you would. Well, the American covenant with American people's covenant with our government is the Constitution, you know. And they need to be smitten a little bit, if you would. You know, we have to push back. And I think that something's very important. I think we will win. I believe Trump's winning last in 2016 was very tantamount to the Revolutionary War. We should not have won either one of them, were it not for divine providence. And I think divine providence is still in play. And I think that Donald Trump will win this election. It may be very rough, and it's going to be very dirty on the other side. But I think what's important to remember is, as we move beyond that, we cannot do as conservatives have done all of my lifetime, and after the election, let's go back to sleep.
Amen.
We now have to win this battle on the invisible battlefield of ideas, push them back into the shadows where they belong, and keep them there. We cannot forget about it and say, well, we had a state commander or a national commander for a while. And after Trump was elected, he said, I'm having a hard time getting people. And I said, why? And he said, well, their response is, Trump's elected, what's the problem? You know, we can't take that opinion after this 2020 election, because the problem is still there. We have got to stand unified in support of Trump and push these people back, because they take their weapons away from them. You know, what we see going on today is just a continuation of Weatherman Underground and the Prairie Fire Manifesto, where you weaponize words like racism.
Yeah.
You know, America's the least racist country in the world.
Absolutely.
But they weaponized that word. They have weaponized, and this was described in Prairie Fire Manifesto back in the late 60s, early 70s, to use that. And so we take the weapons, like the word racism, and we try to commit suicide with it. You know, we have to stand up and say, absolutely not. America's history as far as racism, for example, is the most rapid resolution of that issue in history. We were not a racist country since 1619. The British were.
Yeah.
We inherited that from Britain. The Crown refused to let us abolish slavery until the Constitution. And after the signing of the Constitution, in 83 years, we freed the slaves. You know, so we are not.
All right. You know what? We only got about 4 minutes. I'm so glad that we have next week, because some war stories and stuff are coming to me, and maybe we'll have some time for those. But I want to make one thing. I'm just going to say it. If I get in trouble, tough. I couldn't stand the news, so I went looking for other stuff on the internet, and I found a conservative website, X22, x22.com or X22. And it's conservative. And you know what? There's some good news in there. You get encouraged a little bit. Things are happening that we don't know of, and the news won't tell us. But anyway, he calls the Patriots and the Deep State. The Deep State isn't only politicians. It's politicians. It's Marxists. You know, it's all the people that are bad on that side. They rank them as Deep State. And then they say Patriots, and hopefully that's all of us. So keep praying. Keep coming. I think Doctor's right. I think we're going to win this thing.
Another beautiful quote, and this is from another president of the early years of our country, one of our founding fathers. They shall say of us, talking about the Veterans in Defense of Liberty, they shall say of us as James Madison said of those 56 men that put together the Constitution. There never was an assembly of men and women charged with a great and arduous trust who were more pure in their motive, or more exclusively or anxiously devoted to the object committed to them than were the members of the Veterans in Defense of Liberty. Thank you for that, and I think that's what we need everybody to be a part of.
We do.
And so I'm going to tell you that I know that some of you don't know me. The ones that do understand that every veteran and every family member that I can is going to join this, because it's too late for sure if anybody is silent, because you made a good statement about we can't be asleep. We have to push back, because the Satan works 24/7.
Amen.
He's constantly coming at you. And I would say the closest group that I've ever seen like that has been the Democrats, who they keep pounding. And conservatives keep going to sleep and giving a little ground. We need to give no more ground, and we need to start taking back ground, and never again allow them to use their situation where they manipulate, lie, and everything else to they're pragmatists. The ends justify the means for them. They don't really care about you as people.
No.
It's about power.
Yeah.
Power.
You know.
Okay, folks. You know what? We're going to be back next week. You don't want to miss it. Tell your friends. We'll get into it a little bit more. And there's hope, believe me. And the address and number and website should be on the screen. If it isn't, you can call us at X Media Group, and we'll get it to you. And come on back next week. We'll have a lot more. Thanks for being with us.